really started to look at what I was buying for them, what I was making for them, I found I was really going back to cooking from scratch, similar to what my mother would have done when we were growing up. They were very self-sufficient, had most of their own food, grew most of their own produce. So one of the products that I was buying a lot was tomato ketchup, and my three children all adored ketchup. And we paid a visit to a dentist, and my eldest child had a something that I was buying frequently, and really started at my kitchen table with experimenting with different ingredients, and then started in farmers markets, selling in farmers markets, doing a little bit of research. It was around that time that my sister, who has a food business, and she also has six children, she encouraged me to go down the commercial route with my ketchup. And at the time, I thought, I'm just far too busy to do this. I'm not a chef. I don't have a business background. I'm enjoying farmers markets, but that's it. And one evening, she did a load of research for me shortly after giving birth to her sixth child. And I just thought, okay, I don't have that excuse of being too busy anymore. So I started looking then into doing business courses and into launching my product commercially, and just to see how viable that would be and how I could go about doing that.
Okay, so that's where that's how you got into it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so you already sort of answered this question. So from being a counselor to being a food entrepreneur, I know you said your family has a lot of entrepreneurs, but uh, you know, in terms of finally getting into it, as in something that you're not, what do you call that, professionally trained for, was that tough?
Um, I think Ireland is small, and there are a lot of good supports in Ireland. So, partially because I didn't know what I was doing, I ended up just trying everything and cold calling lots of people. A key thing I did, I started a start your own business course with my local enterprise office, which I found really, really beneficial, not just for the content, but also some of the relationships and business friendships I formed from that. So, from even a networking point of view. Then after that, I did another business course where I did, my SWOT analysis, my PESTEL, all of that, kind of getting into the granular detail about how to launch a business. And at the same time, I was selling at farmers markets. I was using an incubator kitchen to produce my product. I had already sent it off for nutritional analysis, and was okay with the analysis, but wanted to do better. So needed then to get in, a food scientist, so somebody who worked in specific kind of recipe developments. So that was a key thing, finding the right person to work with. Again, a lot of it was word of mouth, people recommending different people who they had worked with. I live in Cork. It's very, very supportive, I would say, for small businesses starting out, where you really don't know anything and people are just giving you phone numbers and saying, try this person, they may be able to help you, or they may be able to point you in the right direction. So doing the Food Academy program was really good. It helped me line up exactly the step-by-step process that I needed to do in order to get onto the shelf in Ireland. I learned quite a lot there. Again, a lot of the connections that I made on that course were really beneficial, and I'm still very good friends with some of those people. After that, then once I finally launched, after tweaking my recipe quite a bit and working with somebody in Chagas who really, knew how to scale and knew what ingredients would work and wouldn't work, and really took apart my recipe that started at my kitchen table and said, this probably won't work if you're going to want to scale. It's fine for farmers markets, but if you want to be producing by the pallet as opposed to by the case, we really need to look at your recipe again. So that was a bit of a wake up call, realizing that my lovely recipe, which worked well for farmers markets, really wasn't financially viable, um, for commercial, going the commercial
Yeah,
route.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, in fact, we have a question about that. Before we get there, Lotte, if you don't mind, could you come in a bit closer in terms of the audio? or maybe talk a bit more louder as well.
Yeah.
And if it's not too much, if you can switch on the video cam, do you want to do that, or this is better for you?
Oh, I can if I can try. I'm trying to.
Yeah. The video cam button on the top right, just click on it, and I think your
Oh
cam
yeah,
should be on.
I got it. Yeah, cool. Hey.
Hi, hello. Good to have a face there. All right, so moving on. In terms of in terms of market research, and this is one of the key things that every food entrepreneur has, right? I mean, we all want to understand whether there is a market for the product, or whether the product that we made is something that people would like. So did you do any testing? No, I know I read in your website the main
Mm.
testers were your own kids,
Yeah.
and I mean, I think that is the starting and the most important point. But did you also do anything else beyond that?
Yeah, so I suppose I had a very clear idea of who my market was from the beginning, and I knew it was mothers like myself who
Yeah.
were busy, would love to be cooking everything from scratch, but can't do that. So wanted to create a product that my children would like. So first of all, it had to be something that my children liked. So the taste had to be right, the mouth feel had to be right,
Yeah.
the color, everything had to be right. And then once I'd got something past them, I then went to 3 different farmers markets in Cork. So I got into the Mahon Farmers Market for a while, which is a fabulous market. If anyone here is from Cork, you'll know it. It's just reopened again recently. It was free, to get my stall in there, and I just took copious notes from everyone who bought or tested my product. I wanted honest feedback on the consistency, the mouth feel, what was important for people. A key thing that kept coming up was the fact that it looked like normal ketchup. That's what people kept saying. It
Hmm.
looks like normal ketchup. So for me, that was, the the winning kind of formula. If it looked like the regular stuff, it had passed the test.
Okay.
And also the packaging was a big thing for people, and that's what I really discovered once I started doing the tastings. And then, yes, I opened it up to, children's groups. Um, it went into creches, play schools in my area where I delivered questionnaires in and got, the managers of different creches to actually trial it and get feedback from the kids, which ones they were going for. So I did quite a bit of that type of research. I didn't spend money on the research.
Okay.
It was all using whatever and whoever I knew who had children who would try it. Yeah.
Okay. So farmers market slash exhibition slash your own community is what
Hmm.
you use to do that. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. All right. All right.
Mm.
Okay. So moving on. The next thing that I have to ask, obviously, is that I mean, you got into the food business. I mean, without any prior, what do you call that, experience in the whole, trade of food business, right? So,
Hmm.
I mean, now that you're probably what 2, 3 years, almost 2 years
But
down the line.
but yeah, almost 3 years. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. What would you say are the three most critical things, that any food aspiring food business owner or entrepreneur needs to know, before starting or venturing out or something like this?
Hmm. I think the first thing really is to know your market, know who is the person or who are the people that you're creating this product for.
Yeah.
If you yourself are your own market, that's really, really helpful. But if
Hmm.
you are not your own market, you really need to get into the granular detail of who is it that you think will want to buy this product, and why do you think that they need this product? What is their problem? Where is their pain? I suppose the second thing is, you know, for me, it was something I didn't realize just how, for some products, they will be financially viable only for artisan or farmers markets.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
will never make it to the commercial shelf,
Yeah.
because it's just too expensive, and because nobody will buy it, because it would just
Mm.
cost too much to actually have it at retail. So that was something I realized with some of the products that I had developed, that, yeah, they'll never actually make it to the commercial shelf because it's just too expensive, and I just have to let go on that. That not every product will make it to that point. Some will only stay online, some will only stay artisan, some will only stay at farmers markets, and then the others can be scaled and produced. Um, and I suppose the other thing is to know your pricing. How much do things cost? To factor in how much time, energy, sweat you're going to put into your business at the start. I wasn't counting my hours initially. It's a lot of work to get a food business off the ground, particularly if you're working as well, and if you have a family and other obligations. It really is. There's a lot of time that goes into it, not just in the physical manufacturing of things, but if you are doing farmers markets, if you are doing other types of markets, just in the physical setup. Um, and getting all of the admin right. A lot of the time you don't know what you don't know until somebody has said, why do you not have
Yeah,
that done?
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
really important to network and to ask questions all the time, because food can be tricky and food can be
Mm-hmm.
difficult, and rightly so. We need to protect the general public, but really find out what you need to do. Yeah.
Okay, okay, all right. So, very important points there, I guess. So, in fact, folks, if you're just joined here again, I have a poll that's published just to understand if you're an aspiring or an existing food business owner, just to understand what stage you're at, and the poll is published. Just have a quick look at that. Loretta, just for your knowledge as well. So,
Mm.
from the polls that's live, we have almost 70 percentage people who are at an idea stage. We have almost 50%, 15% people who've already started something. And then there are around 20% people who are still sort of ideating. They know what they want to do, but they don't know where to start. So just sort of giving a picture of the kind of audience we have here. All right, so moving on. Did you have a mentor? I know you said the Food Academy program, and of course, there's a lot of good ecosystem that you had available at your disposal. But did you actually work with a particular mentor? Someone who knew the trade, or someone you thought would help you, particularly with this project.
hmm I did. I've had three mentors, and I'm applying for a fourth mentor now.
Okay.
I suppose definitely the mentoring helped me massively, absolutely massively. At all times, I've worked with people who have worked in the food industry, people who have, some life experience, have actually, ran businesses themselves, both nationally and globally. I think, to be working with somebody who has some kind of international reach, it's really, really important, because they can tell you, they can preempt the difficulties and the problems. I think I was at a point with my last mentor where, I just was like, I want to start exporting. I want to start exporting. And, he rightly so kind of talked me through the whole process and said, maybe there's more you can do in Ireland before you
Yeah.
start looking at containers, stuck in ports, and you're paying, several
Mm-hmm.
thousand every day. And I thought, oh God, actually, yes.
Yeah.
So, somebody who had been there, done that, but was very, kind of helping me just navigate a system and different processes, and even helping me set up my own processes, which
Okay.
was really, really important. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Moving on. So you've been in the trade for some time now, and if you're given a choice between offline and online, which would you pick and why?
So for myself, I still like to shop myself with my
Yeah,
eyes and my hands.
yeah, yeah.
I I know my children like online. For my company itself, I suppose because I have glass, I find glass, it's very expensive to ship and to post and to
Yeah.
courier. So I tend not to sell my ketchup really that much online. I'm hoping to develop other products that I would actually be able to ship kind of easier.
Yeah.
But for the moment, with my own company, it is retail. And I think, a lot of retail now has gone online in terms of just food products. So, there is availability there for people who want to buy food from a particular supermarket. If my product is listed in that supermarket, they can put it into the basket as well. So
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah.
yeah, a combination of both. But I think people that, it's particularly when it comes to food, I think they like to shop with their hands and their eyes. And, to see the crowds of people back at the farmers markets again is such a reflection on the fact that people just love that experience, when it comes
Okay.
to food. Mm.
Okay. All right. Moving on. Now we spoke about, I mean, you started to speak about this as in, when you initially develop your formula and how it wasn't looking all that economically viable. So, this is a main thing, especially for food entrepreneurs, right? I mean, this is like a reality check, right? So from your own experience, what do you think? What are the kind of margins that you need to actually have to make this business viable? And could you also cite something from your own journey, because I think you started to speak about that a while back.
Yeah, so I suppose with me at the moment, I've been looking for a distributor for a while, and it's one thing to do a farmer's market where you're keeping all of the profit yourself, and perhaps not, even factoring in your own hours and all of that. I mean, there are loads of figures bandied around: 30%, 35%,
Yeah, yeah,
40%, 85%. If loads of different figures bandied around. I think with food products, I mean, volume is key. Volume is
correct.
absolutely key. You have to, if you're making like 20, 30%, you need to have the volume. You absolutely have to have the volume.
Yeah.
Um, for me, I suppose a big thing was I've been looking for a distributor for a while.
Mm,
And I've worked with different distributors, and they've all been, fabulous, and really, really helped me when I've needed them. But I've been looking for a national distributor. And
yeah.
when you start working with, big distributors, they're also going to need their cut, and
Yep.
the shop needs their cut. And
Yep.
that's then when you start to really look at, oh my God, like there's
Yeah.
40% for them and 30% for them. And oh, how much is left for me? And oh, and I have to pay out all of this.
Yeah.
So, um, I'm very fortunate in that I am working with a manufacturing partner now. And I've been able to do that since I started to scale. And that has been huge because that has taken all the pressure off me for having to produce physically myself.
Yeah.
And they're an Irish family business. And for me, that's a huge part of the puzzle, to actually find a really good manufacturing partner, because then you
Mm-hmm.
can start to look at getting your volume. Then you can start to spend time at trying to get more outlets and more sales and more contracts. I mean, I launched in November 2018, and I pitched to Aldi 4 months later, thinking it would be good experience to pitch to the
Yeah.
head buyers, and I
Yeah.
got the contract. So,
Yeah.
you know, finding a manufacturing partner enabled me to give that the time. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so when it comes to margins, I think I don't have a magic number. I think it depends on what you're selling, and what kind of a shelf life it has. If it's an ambient product, I mean, you can store it for a while. You can produce a little bit of it and then try and get the sales, whatever way. I mean, I've just started up with Amazon now at the moment as well, and I'm making very little off every sale, but again, I'm building my brand awareness, and that is, it swings and roundabouts as well. I don't mind losing a bit of margin if it
Yeah.
means that
Yeah.
my brand is becoming more and more visible.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's move on from that to the next one. So, in your last 3 years or so, if you have to recollect of three challenging things, what were those three challenging things, and how did you overcome them?
So I definitely know the first thing was when I told my partner I wanted to start a ketchup company.
Okay.
And he just laughed. He was like, "What? Stop talking crazy." And it was that I had had this idea for a while, and then to put it out into the real world and to actually face being judged for having this idea and having to really then do something with it.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so that was challenging initially because I was working full time. I had three small children and my partner works long hours. So to try to bootstrap a company and find the time, find the energy to keep going with it,
Mm-hmm.
when there were a lot of naysayers saying, "What are you doing?" I found that very challenging, but I kept
Yeah,
going, but I kept going.
yeah,
And then once I started to connect with other people who were in a similar boat, that's what really kept me going then. That's what kept me thinking, okay, this is normal. It's normal to feel this way. It's normal to be questioning everything I'm doing. It's normal to, feel like, what, you've no experience. What are you doing? I think the second challenging thing then was finding a manufacturing partner. I realized, pretty early on that I did need to find somebody who would help me with production.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and again, that was word of mouth. That was people who kind of told me, maybe you should talk to this person or talk to this person. And I found somebody then, and they worked with me. My recipe was not ready for commercial
Yes,
use
yes.
at the time, and they stuck with me and helped me get it up to speed so that it was consistent, and every batch was pretty much the same. So that was the next thing. And then I think the third challenging thing was actually just getting the stuff into the shops. How does one
Yeah, yeah,
physically do that? You
yeah,
can't drive
yeah,
around in your car or your van like
yeah.
putting cases in.
Yeah.
So again, I worked with local kind of distributors, and then trying to find a national distributor was the next challenging thing for me. Again, trying to get meetings with people. And then I had just signed off with a distributor in Ireland, and we were talking about doing export, and basically me working with them. They have a well established company, several well established companies nationally and globally. And then we have a global pandemic. So everything is on
Yeah,
hold.
yeah,
um,
yeah,
but
yeah.
that's okay. The work was done prior to that, where I had to really just show up, get all my figures correct, get all that work done in the background, so that when the right distributor did show up, I was able to go, okay, yeah, let's work together. So yeah, I think, yeah, bootstrapping a company though it's tough. you
Mm-hmm.
know, yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Moving on. So yeah, this is I think very important. I think again you started to mention about some of these points, right? So
Mm,
uh, you started off to the whole farmers market, developing your own recipe, and of course then there are a lot of other realities that needs to sink in: the business economies, scale, the margins, like you said, distributor margin, retail margin, all of that needs to sink in. So I wanted to ask you, in fact, again, for folks out here, there's a poll that's published. If you are an aspiring entrepreneur, just to answer how you want to go about it. And Loretta, again, this question comes back to you. When you started this off, I mean, when you were playing around with recipe and farmers market, how did you envision the growth? And is it very different from what is it now? And by that, I
mhm.
mean, let's say when you started off, where you like, okay, I'm gonna do this product right now. I'm gonna have multiple SKUs. I'm then gonna do export. And then gonna do different packaging. And then gonna do. I mean, was it very
No.
different, or are you exactly in the same path as you wanted to be?
So when I started, I didn't really have a clear idea of where I wanted to go. I think I just took my sister's advice, who said, I think this product could work, and started, and was just shocked and delighted when it sold so well at the farmer's market.
Okay.
The next thing then was when I got a listing with Super Value. I just got 6 stores initially. And again, I thought, wow, I have it made. I'm in 6 stores. This is
Yeah.
incredible. Like,
Yeah.
people are going to buy my ketchup.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, And then after I pitched to Aldi and got that contract and got a national listing, I just thought, okay, I want to keep going here now. This
Mm-hmm.
is um I'm getting traction. There are people who clearly I'm not the only parent in Ireland who has kids who like ketchup.
Yeah,
And I want to keep going. I want to bring out new products. For people like me who want healthy food, who don't want to compromise on ingredients, who are, okay to pay that little bit more for a product. But, I know the kinds of things that I want and that I need and that I don't see on the shelf for myself. So, for me, because I suppose I have an ambient product and because it's not being made fresh every single day and because it can be stored for, a long period of time, the business economics enables me to do that.
okay.
I certainly wouldn't be producing anything with a short shelf life because I know my
Mm-hmm.
sister does that and I have seen the huge difficulties with something that is freshly made every single day.
Okay,
So for me, I'm very focused now on what my business will look like,
okay,
and it will be ambient foods. But I won't compromise again on quality ingredients, and on my packaging and on my whole ethos. It's that remains the same. So I think for me it is viable to keep going and to expand and to scale and to export. Um, but that mainly I think is because of the products that I have. They're ambient and they're kind of in the condiment section. They're
yeah,
something that people buy regularly. They go
yeah,
into the shopping basket at least once every week or every 2 weeks. Yeah.
okay, all right. Okay, so I think that brings us towards the last question, I think, which is again, you have partially answered this, but what's the next thing for Mama Bear? Where do you see this, growing in the next 3 years or the next five
Mm.
years?
Well, global domination.
Okay,
Oh, no, seriously. I mean, what I would love is I'd love to have a couple of more products to
okay,
go with the tomato ketchup, a couple more flavors, and a couple more ambient products. Again, geared towards families who want to eat healthily. Um, I would like to have national listings in Ireland. I currently don't have national listings in Ireland. So again, I was set to meet some head buyers and then global pandemic hit. So that is on hold for the moment, but I anticipate picking that back up again in the near future. So to get before the likes of Dunn's, to get before the likes of Musgraves, maybe Tesco, to actually get in front of the head buyers and to do my pitch and to show them my slide deck. But again, I'll be doing that hand in hand with a distribution company.
okay,
I would not find out who I need to speak to in those supermarkets without having some kind of a lead into the industry. So that's where I hope to be going next. Yeah, to keep going and to kind of launch as many products in the range as I can and to take it as far as I can take it.
okay.
Yeah.
So, just to conclude, Loretta, is there a particular message that you want to put out to aspiring food entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I would say that it's a really, really good time to be a food entrepreneur. I mean, it might seem like it's not, but I've seen some amazing, food entrepreneurs doing amazing stuff at the moment in the midst of a pandemic where they've pivoted and they're doing door-to-door deliveries. I think, now is the time to actually be doing your research. So, send out your questionnaires, find out what people want, find out what's your why. Why do you want to make this? Are you your own target market? I think also, to do your pricing and, not to get too emotionally attached to a product until you've really done your pricing.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
you can put a lot of energy and a lot of money into trying to launch something. And then when you sit down and crunch the figures, you might realize actually this is not viable. So
Mm,
I do think it's important to do all of that research before you get too emotionally attached, because if you are very attached to something, you'll keep pushing it and it might not be viable. It might be something just for a farmer's market. It might never
yeah,
make it to a big supermarket where all of your margin will just be gone, all your profit will be gone, you know. So yeah, I would say do your research now, stick with it, and get, ask people what are they looking for. Certainly, I know now people are buying local, people want to support,
Local
Irish.
businesses.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely. And to be creative, be present, get on your social media, and network, get out there and talk to people who are doing it or who have done it, and you'll find people are very, very supportive. People are genuinely really, really supportive. Yeah, do
All
some
right.
cold calling.
Okay, so it's time for questions, folks. And also, please follow Loretta on Instagram. You
Thank you.
can find her at Mama Bear underscore
Mhm.
foods if you want to interact with her further. But yeah, if you have any questions for her now, you can shoot that. And before we get on to that, also some time for some shameless self promotion from my own end. If you are a food entrepreneur, folks, I'm a food marketing consultant. Plus, I also have an online course just for food entrepreneurs. And for folks who are here, I'm giving it at a 50% discount today. So this basically has all the steps that a food entrepreneur needs to know to set up a food business, marketing, strategy, and all that. So this course is now available for 50% off for the attendees today. Let's get back to questions for Loretta while you checked out that course. So I think one of them, Ella Omer, has asked, how did you approach the supermarkets initially? Loretta, you can see the chat window with the questions, right?
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can.
Do you want to start off
Sure.
with the questions of Ella? How did you approach the supermarkets initially?
So, well, I suppose I had done a program called Food Academy program in Ireland, which gives you either a chance to actually pitch to a team of head buyers from one of the main supermarkets in Ireland. So that's how I got the lead into actually getting in front of that team of buyers. Once I was given the green light by them, I mean, I had to do my pitch, my sales pitch, and they then gave me a yay or a nay. So once I got the yes from them, I had the green light then to actually start stocking their supermarkets. But again, it was only a handful I was given initially. I wasn't given this blank national contract. So that was my first pitch. My second pitch then was through again another program called the Grow with Aldi program, where there are two rounds of applications, and then if you're called to pitch, you get the chance to pitch your business idea, your product. You bring a sample of your product, and you have 2 minutes to talk about why they should stock your product. I did the pitch to them. I felt very good afterwards, and then I got the call to go in and do a trial with them in June, and then based on the trial in June, I got offered a year-long contract with them starting in September. So that's how I got in front of them. The other supermarkets have been more difficult. As I said, I am now going to be working with a distributor, and it is really through the distribution company that I will get the chance to pitch to the head buyers in the other main supermarkets. So, yeah, they don't advertise their names and their email addresses that
Yeah.
often, and then they change as well. So, I suppose for me, it's been, I was dealing with somebody in a different supermarket, and they only really, reassess their products maybe once or twice a year. So you have to know as well when they're looking at your section, what category your product falls into, whether it's, health food or condiments or ambient, So yeah, it can be quite difficult, I would say, but persevere. LinkedIn can be really handy,
Okay.
but not always. People always don't always get back to you,
Yeah. 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 No, I guess that's one tough part of this thing. I mean, a lot of food entrepreneurs would be pitching the buyers, so we have to cut through the chase, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, yeah. Next question, I think. So Catherine from Cork is asking about how did you access the mentors?
How did I access the mentors? So the first one was through the local enterprise office. I got two mentors through my local enterprise office, and they were both really, really good for the different points in the food business where I was at, for the different points I was at. And then the third mentor that I got was through Enterprise Ireland. and he had a lot of international experience, had worked with a lot of different companies, in South America, Europe, the UK, and Ireland. So I found that really, really, really helpful. He had a bigger picture and could preempt the problems that I hadn't a clue would present. So, anytime, as I said, I try to talk about export, he was like, "You're not ready. You're not ready." And I trusted, And so that when I was ready, he said, "Yeah, I think you're ready now." And it was really, really helpful to get him. But he was through Enterprise Ireland. Yeah. So there are loads of mentoring programs through your local enterprise office. I mean, you can kind of specify what kind of area you're interested in, whether it's like retail or IT or food or pharmaceutical, and they will try and align you with somebody who has worked in your sector. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So there's another question, which is something that you might have, quite answered, but just to repeat on that, two things, which is how, what's the right combination here to understand or launch your food business? Is it a mix of gut feeling, or is it hardcore number crunching research? I know you've already answered that, but that's a
Yeah.
different comment.
Well, I think for me, I had a gut feeling that I wasn't the only person who needed this product. And then, I just started in my own community. I started with my own family, with my own friends. I am quite connected with a lot of, I suppose, parenting groups in Ireland. So would have, called on them as well to help with doing some research. As I said, I didn't spend a fortune on market research. I sent samples to people and asked for genuine, honest feedback. I had, tasting kind of circles set up in different places, in Cork for to get people in just to try it. And that's then when I saw that there was a market for it, that I actually started to kind of go, okay, next step now. And I suppose that was because I had got that piece of advice which said, check that you have a market, because if you don't have a market, you could be putting a lot of time and money into something and only a handful of people want it, or it
Yeah,
will be too expensive,
yeah,
by the time it gets to the supermarket, to be commercially viable. Maybe you just need to do your farmers market, once a week and keep all the profits.
that's great. That's great.
Mm.
Okay, all right. So, folks, we are towards the end of it. Just if you're here, just participate in the last poll that we published about rating the content that we discussed today. If there's no more questions for Loretta, we'll wind this up. Like I said, do follow her on Instagram if you have more questions as well. I'm sure she'll be happy to answer your questions. Otherwise, check out their website as well, and explore if you can see the products and shelves if you are from Ireland. Any more questions for Loretta, folks, or we can wind it up? Um, I think the questions have, it's probably just one last question. Is, I mean, again, it's a very generic question, Loretta, but it's about how much research and where to start. I think you've already answered that, isn't it?
Mm.
To start from
Yeah.
your own community.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But like, who needs it and why do they need it? What's the pain point there? Who are you making it for? I think it's really important to establish that from the beginning. You're not going to sell your product to absolutely everybody. So to be able to focus on who it's for, and that'll give you a really good insight then in what's next, what you need to do next.
Okay. All right, so I guess that's it, folks. We've well over our scheduled time. Loretta, many thanks for joining us today
Thank
and
you.
to
My
share the
pleasure.
very, very valuable insights. And, you know, all the best for world domination.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. Great.
It was a pleasure. Thanks, Loretta. See you then.
Okay.
Bye.
Take care. Bye. Bye
Bye.
bye.
All right, folks, we are winding up for tonight. Many thanks for joining us. Like I said, the Food Business Academy is set out for folks who are either trying to set up their food business or already set up their food business and needs help. It has both help in terms of business strategy and marketing. Plus, if you need any other specific help in terms of your food business when it comes to communication or digital, reach out to me on Instagram and we can have a chat. All right, folks, thanks. Have a good evening. Have a good day. Have a good weekend and stay safe uh, at home in the lockdown situation. See you.